Success isn't some magical coincidence that lands in your lap by chance. It's not a random stroke of fortune or a lottery ticket win. It's the predictable outcome of the thoughts you entertain, the decisions you make, and the habits you reinforce daily. While some people appear to naturally attract prosperity and achievement, it's not because they were born under a lucky star, it's because they've built a mindset wired for results. They've conditioned themselves through repetition and discipline to become the kind of person success finds inevitable. As Bob Proctor said, success is not to be pursued. It is to be attracted by the person you become. What separates achievers from the rest is not talent, intelligence, or even education. It's their unwavering commitment to growth, the ability to act with discipline even when doubt creeps in, and the decision to move forward when others retreat. On the other hand, people who struggle often operate from a cycle of hesitation, second-guessing, or waiting for the right moment. But here's the truth. Transformation doesn't happen in bursts. It happens in those tiny, often invisible decisions made day after day. Success compounds through consistency. If you truly want to bring success into your life, you must begin by reshaping your internal framework. Your mindset must shift from passive hope to deliberate creation. That means cultivating habits that empower you, choosing environments that elevate your vision, and aligning your actions with your deepest intention. You're not supposed to chase success like it's running away from you, meant to become its magnetic center. When who you are internally matches what you want externally, success doesn't just appear to arise as a reflection. That's not motivation. That's universal law. Every day, whether consciously or unconsciously, you're constructing your future identity. The habits you reinforce, the emotions you dwell in, and the people you surround yourself with, all of it feeds into the blueprint of who you're becoming. Think of your life as a blank canvas and your choices as the brush. Are you creating something that aligns with your highest potential, or are you allowing randomness and outside noise to dictate what gets painted? Bob Proctor emphasized, "You were born rich, and the only thing standing between you and the life you want is your own conditioning." Your inner world dictates the outer one. Your thoughts, your posture, your energies, the elements silently communicate your self-image to the world. And the world responds in kind. If you radiate clarity, purpose, and belief in your own value, opportunities begin to form around you. Success doesn't seek out the loudest or the flashiest, it gravitates to the most aligned. And alignment is an internal job. It starts with your self-concept and is nurtured by disciplined thinking and aligned behavior. Even the tiniest decision, how you respond to a challenge, whether you keep a promise to yourself, how you spend the first 10 minutes of your day shapes the architecture of your future self. Think of the individuals who naturally command attention without effort. Their presence speaks volumes. They don't beg for respect, they embody it. They carry a quiet certainty that shifts rooms. That magnetism isn't genetic. It's earned, and it begins with an inner commitment to never accept less than what you are truly capable of becoming. This silent power, this gravitational pull, is not accidental. It is the byproduct of relentless inner refinement, the result of choosing growth over comfort, purpose over distraction, and strength over excuse. They've designed their identity like a craftsman builds a masterpiece intentionally, precisely, and without compromise. Success in their world isn't something to obtain. It's something to reflect. As Bob Proctor often taught, you don't get what you want. You get what you are. Let's consider a real example of what happens when belief overrides circumstance. Edwin C. Barnes. He had no wealth, no prestigious connections, and no special qualification. But what he possessed was something far more powerful, a crystal clear vision, and a desire so strong it couldn't be ignored. Long before anyone else could see it, Barnes decided in his mind that he would become a business partner to the legendary inventor Thomas Edison. And he didn't wait for an invitation. He acted. Edwin Barnes didn't wait for a convenient moment or an official offer. He didn't sit around hoping Edison would one day discover him. He took action, bold, uncomfortable, irrational action by most standards. With no money for a train ticket, he climbed aboard a freight car and traveled to New Jersey, arriving at Edison's office with nothing but an unwavering belief in himself. Most people would have seen only impossibilities. Barnes saw opportunity because he wasn't acting from his current circumstances, he was acting from his vision. When he met Edison, he declared his intention clearly not to be just another employee, but to become his business partner. After that point, there was no logical reason for Edison to take him seriously. But belief has a power that logic can't touch. Barnes had already internalized the role he wanted to play. He thought like a partner. He carried himself like one. His energy radiated commitment, and Edison recognized it not because of what Barnes had done, but because of who he had already decided to be. Bob Proctor often taught, faith and fear both demand you believe in something you cannot see. Choose faith Barnes chose faith in himself. Edison didn't give him the role he wanted, at least not immediately. Instead, he offered him a minor, seemingly insignificant job. Most people would have seen it as a rejection. Barnes saw it as his foot in the door, and that's all he needed. Day after day, he showed up. He worked with excellence, with pride, and with purpose. And though it wasn't glamorous, he treated every small task as though it were a step toward his vision. He didn't need applause. He needed alignment, and that consistent effort eventually collided with opportunity. When Edison needed someone to bring his new invention, the Edison dictating machine to market, Barnes was ready. He didn't hesitate. He stepped forward, fully prepared, because he had been preparing himself all along. Barnes took that opportunity and turned it into a fortune, not just financially, but personally. He became exactly what he declared years before, Edison's trusted partner. But it didn't happen through chance or luck. It was the inevitable result of identity, clarity, and action. Bob Proctor would say, decide what you want, believe you can have it, believe you deserve it, believe it's possible for you. That's what Barnes did. He made a decision, lived in alignment with it, and success became the only logical outcome. Now consider another example, Henry Ford. His story isn't about quick wins or easy victories. It's about vision, failure, and unstoppable persistence. Before founding the Ford Motor Company, he had already faced defeat twice. Most people would have stopped there. 2 failed companies would be enough evidence for many to believe they were simply not cut out for success. But Ford didn't see failure as a reason to quit. He saw it as a necessary refinement of his vision. Ford envisioned something revolutionary, not just making cars, but making them accessible to everyday people. At the time, the idea was radical. Automobiles were seen as luxuries reserved for the elite. But Ford didn't let the present limit his future. He leaned into his belief, just as Bob Proctor taught. The only limits in our life are those we impose on ourselves. Ford refused to adopt a mindset of scarcity or defeat. Instead, he focused on innovation, efficiency, and creating systems that had never existed before. He challenged the norms of production and introduced assembly line manufacturing, which forever transformed the industry. Ford wasn't just building cars. He was building a model of possibility. He believed that mass production could serve the masses. And because of that belief, the Ford Model T became the vehicle that reshaped the world. Even in times of massive economic downturns, such as the Great Depression, Ford's core values didn't waver. His success was not tied to condition. It was tied to conviction. Where others saw collapse, he saw continuity. He understood that resilience wasn't something you summon during crisis, it's something you cultivate before it hits. Ford's legacy wasn't defined by ease. It was defined by intention, by discipline, by vision. Just as Proctor affirmed, you must begin to see yourself as the person you want to become and then take action on that image. Ford did exactly that. So the question becomes, who must you become to attract the success you see? Let's stretch this idea even further. What truly separates those who succeed in life from those who remain stuck isn't intelligence, background, or connection. It's the level of clarity and intensity behind their desires. Most people live in a reactive state. They wait for circumstances to shift, for the right opportunity to appear, or for someone to give them permission to pursue their goals. But the truth is, success never begins with opportunity. It begins with decision. Bob Proctor often said, the moment you make a committed decision, the universe moves to support you. And that's not just poetic, it's practical. Until you commit to something fully, your thoughts remain scattered, your actions unfocused, and your energy divided. But once you decide with absolute conviction, the mind reorganizes itself to pursue that outcome. You no longer ask if it's possible. You begin to act as if it's inevitable. The challenge is that most people never reach that level of decision. They wish for change. They hope things will improve. But wishing and hoping are passive states. They come from doubt. Decision, on the other hand, comes from power. It demands action. It requires you to take responsibility for your own future instead of outsourcing it to chance. Think about it. How often have you talked yourself out of your own dreams? How many times have you allowed fear, procrastination, or other people's opinions to convince you that now is not the right time? Bob Proctor didn't believe in perfect timing. He believed in alignment. He taught that the moment you feel the urge to grow, that urge is life calling you forward, and it's your duty to respond, not retreat. To decide is to draw a line in the sand. It's not something you do casually. It's a psychological turning point where you say, this is who I am now. This is the life I will create. And every decision, no matter how small, becomes a brick in the foundation of that new identity. Once you've made the decision, Tao loses its power. You no longer entertain alternatives that contradict your goal. You stop explaining yourself. You stop needing validation. You act, you adjust, you persist, and you grow into the version of yourself that your vision demands. Bob Proctor believed deeply in this process of internal transformation. You don't get rich by doing certain things. You get rich by doing things in a certain way. And that certain way begins inside of you through the way you think, feel, and act in alignment with your highest vision. This is why people who appear lucky often aren't lucky at all. They're simply those who have trained themselves to focus, to discipline their mind, to act without hesitation. Their success isn't magic, it's the result of an inner decision that changed the way they showed up in the world. Let's be clear, deciding doesn't mean everything becomes easy, but it does mean everything becomes directed. You'll still face obstacles, you'll still make mistakes, but now those challenges become part of the path, not a reason to abandon it. Every person who has transformed their life financially, emotionally, spiritually has done so because they've reached a moment of deep clarity and made a decision that they would not turn back, no matter the fear, no matter the delays. No matter how unlikely it looked from the outside, this is the power of decision. It's not an idea, it's an energetic shift. And once it happens, your mind stops negotiating with your limitations. You begin to live with purpose. You begin to attract the people, ideas, and opportunities that match your new level of commitment. Because as Bob Proctor always reminded us, when you're in harmony with your desire, the universe has no choice but to deliver. What truly fuels this unstoppable inner power isn't luck, background, or even motivation, it's alignment. Alignment between what you want, what you believe, and how you act. Most people walk through life out of sync with themselves. They say they want success, but their self-image contradicts that desire. They visualize abundance, but unconsciously expect struggle. That conflict creates resistance. It's like driving with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. Bob Proctor made it clear, you can only move toward what you are in harmony. You may want wealth, freedom, love, but if deep down you don't believe you deserve it, or you don't see yourself living that reality, your subconscious mind will sabotage your efforts every time, and you'll call it bad luck, or lack of opportunity, or not being ready yet. But the truth is, you're not blocked by the world, you're blocked by your own beliefs. And here's where most people get it wrong. They try to change their circumstances without ever changing their self. But you can't outperform your own identity. If you see yourself as small, limited, average, that's the life you'll continue to create, no matter how hard you try. Because every result is rooted in your internal blueprint. That's why Bob Proctor emphasized the importance of reprogramming your mind. Not with empty affirmations, but with deep emotional repetition of new ideas. Ideas that expand your vision. Ideas that elevate yourself. He taught that transformation is not about doing more, it's about becoming more. And to become more, you must impress a new idea onto your subconscious mind so clearly and so consistently that it begins to override the old conditioning. This is where true discipline comes in, not the discipline of forcing yourself to work harder, but the discipline of holding a new frequency, of staying mentally connected to your vision, even when your current results don't yet reflect it. That's how paradigms shift. That's how you cross the invisible threshold between dreaming and doing. And here's something Bob said that changes lives. It's not about changing what you do, it's about changing who you believe. Because once your self-concept evolves, your behavior follows naturally. You don't have to fake confidence. Begin to become confident. You don't have to force wealth. You start to live from a prosperous mindset. You stop chasing success and you start aligning with it. From this place, the struggle fades. Not because life becomes perfect, but because you stop resisting your own power. You begin to act with certainty. You begin to carry yourself differently. You no longer need to convince others you embody the truth of your vision, and that's what draws success towards you. Bob Proctor's life was a living testament to this principle. He didn't come from privilege. He wasn't handed his success. He studied himself out of poverty and built a new identity one belief at a time. And he dedicated his life to teaching others how to do the same. So if you're still waiting for the perfect moment, stop waiting. The perfect moment doesn't exist. The moment is now. Decide who you want to be. Begin thinking, speaking, and acting in harmony with that version of you. Not tomorrow, not when circumstances are easier, right now. Because in the end, the greatest gift you can give yourself is freedom from the old version of you. The version that doubted, that delayed, that settled, Dad apologized for wanting more. Bob Proctor once said, "The only limits in our life are those we impose on ourselves." And when you finally remove those limits one decision at a time, you won't just chase your dreams. You'll become the person who naturally attracts them. Your future isn't waiting for you. It's already here, but you must claim it. And if this message resonated with you, if you feel that something inside of you is waking up, don't let it fade. Stay with it. Nourish it. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe for more insights, transformations, and the mental tools you need to live a life that reflects your true potential. This is your moment. Decide to live it fully.